The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. The boys are back in town. After a 1-week hiatus, I think a lot of people were worried that we were never going to be back, but we were just taking a week off. Warren was in New York.
And Philadelphia.
I
saw the Liberty Bell.
Well, we'll get to your trip here in a second. I didn't do anything. I was just sitting around at home, relaxing for a week.
Yeah, I haven't seen you for 2 weeks, which is, we haven't done in like a year.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Right? Because I've seen you every week at least.
We prided ourselves on being regimented with the show. Every single week we were doing a show, and I knew you were going to be in town. We probably still could have done a show, but I don't know. It's good to take a break every once in a while, and then it leaves the people hungry for more.
People are shocked by this.
People were shocked. They were appalled.
Yeah.
We had at least 2 listeners express their disapproval.
But people just were asking me, like, aren't you doing a show? And I was like, no, Brad's okay with not doing a show.
Yeah.
Because usually you are very, like, we got to do it. We got to be productive.
No, it's good. I think we need a little break. We have just so much to talk about now. After 2 weeks backlog, Celebrity Minute's been... Actually, there isn't much on Celebrity Minute.
There hasn't been, like, 3 Lindsay Lohan car accidents or anything?
No, surprisingly, no. But we will have some Netflix picks. I know people enjoyed that feature last time. We'll have some Street Freak of the Week. We have a pretty good Street Freak of the Week.
Oh, good.
To tell you about this week. But first, let's get to your trip. You went to New York with the girlfriend.
I did.
What was that about? Why were you there?
She had to go to this, like, conference thing, so I went there. And then I just, like, would walk around during the day and went to some museums.
Were you mostly left to your own devices? Was she...
I was mostly left to my own devices. Was she
working the whole time, pretty much?
Yeah, during the day, she was at a job, basically, and then she would be done at night. Mm-hmm. So during the day, I would just be traipsing around New York.
Did you take the subway all over the place?
Oh, I took the subway.
Did anybody try to push you in front of an oncoming train or anything?
I did have a weird sort of confrontation that I was around, but nothing actually happened to me. A crazy man went on the train, started mumbling, bumping into people, and punched an old man as he left the train.
Wow.
So some bro guy in like an affliction shirt was like, "You better watch it, dude." The crazy homeless man heard that, came back on the train before the doors closed, and started screaming at him about how he was a racist. Huh. Then we get to the next stop.
Was the homeless guy was black?
The homeless guy was black.
And the bro guy was white.
Bro guy was white. So we all waited for this to happen. And then he got off the next stop. So we're like, oh, thank goodness. But instead of actually getting off, he just straddled the doorway, stopping the subway from running, and screaming about how this guy was racist.
Where are the transit cops?
They were on their way.
Okay.
Because he did this for a long time, and we were all waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
And people were like, come on, get out of here. We want the train to go. We want to get home. And then eventually he left, and then the next stop, the transit cops showed up and were looking for him.
I want to be a crazy black homeless man, because then I could just go punching people and then screaming that everyone was racist when they tried to stop me from punching people.
This is the strange thing about New York now. It is so safe that nothing ever happens, apparently.
Yeah.
They had like 2 weeks without a murder the last couple weeks. Like, they had the lowest murder rate since the early 60s this last year. So that's the most exciting thing that happens. There were some urban youths who came on the train at one point with a boombox and did a breakdancing routine, which was very like a New York thing, right? And then they went around trying to get money. But, yeah, the subway's great.
Yeah, I still have never been to New York. I'd like to go sometime. I'm worried that New York would no longer live up to the expectations I have as to what New York is supposed to be.
What are these expectations?
I don't know, because you watch...
Is it based on Seinfeld?
Old movie. Well, some of it's based on Seinfeld, which was all shot in like the Universal backlot or something, so that's not going to do much for me. But then watching old movies from the 70s and 80s, like Times Square in the 70s, when it was just this hub of horrible, seedy, like prostitution and sex shops and crime, that doesn't exist anymore. It's all owned by Disney and Starbucks and everything. Well, the urban youth coming onto the subway and doing a breakdancing routine, that would please me. That's like going to a ghost town and having a fake gunfight or something. You know? Yeah. I appreciate that.
But you would be disappointed in your trip to New York because you wouldn't get mugged?
New York was supposed to be like the city that never sleeps and dangerous.
Oh, it is still the city that never sleeps. It's just the city that never sleeps with much less crime and violence.
Yeah.
Which is better.
Yeah.
I know people like to decry gentrification and say, what a tragedy this is for everyone.
Yeah.
Now there's like less murders and stuff. And you're like, well, it makes it easier to visit.
Of course, it's more difficult to secure housing when it's safe. When the neighborhood's shitty and you're getting killed, rent is usually a lot cheaper.
That is a trade-off, right?
That's what always happens, though, because when The Village was like a beatnik, crazy, low-rent place, and there were a bunch of artists and also crime and things like that, it was a vibrant community, but then it becomes popular, it becomes gentrified, housing costs go way, way up, and then the very thing that caused that neighborhood to be desirable, i.e. the art culture or music culture or whatever is going on there, gets thrown out the window because 20-year-old bum artists can't afford to live there anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
I did walk by the Stonewall Inn, actually, at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Ironically, Obama mentioned Stonewall in his inaugural address.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that, drag queens in a like brutal fight with police there. And it's hard to imagine that going on there now, right? Like this violent conflict between drag queens and police. Yeah. But, it's just a different kind of scene. Yeah. It's very nice. There are a lot of nannies. There are a lot of very affluent people.
Nannies out like with the kids
walking
on
the
streets?
kids.
Okay.
There are a lot of white kids with, black or, Hispanic women walking them around.
Yeah. Are there any like nanny / dog walkers who combine the two professions?
I never saw that. I did see some dog walkers though, who had like the 8 dogs and were walking around with them.
See, I would like to see the 8 dogs and then several toddlers on harnesses, and they'd all just go in a big pack together.
The people that are on the harnesses, those are not people who have nannies. Those are daycare facilities, and they put them on that little chain gang and like lead them around.
Yeah,
which I did see some of that too. Which, if I was a daycare provider, there's no way I would want to do that in Manhattan, because there's like a million people walking around the sidewalk, and these kids are like almost getting stepped on constantly. Yeah, it seems terrifying.
Do they have the kind of chains like on the dog leashes where it winds back up into the handle?
No.
Kind of thing? Oh, okay.
It's just kind of like...
I could imagine a potential kidnapper, like, whoosh, he takes off for about a block, and then suddenly he reaches the end of the tether with the little kid under his arm, and then he just falls down on his ass.
Of course, that gets back to the whole, like, myth of, like, people, like, grabbing kids constantly.
Yeah. Which, you know what? I remember when we were little kids, there was always that constant...
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger, like, people are going to come and grab you. Other than molesting the child, I can't really see any good reason to grab a kid.
No, unless you're going to, like, do a ransom. This is like, Lindbergh's baby.
Yeah, and
something.
Nobody in my neighborhood was going to ransom.
So it's like getting struck by lightning. It rarely ever happens. Yeah. But I mean, people are always worried about getting murdered.
Yeah.
When really, statistically, it's twice as likely that you're going to kill yourself.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, there are twice as many suicides as there are murders in the United States.
Well, even when I lived in LA and I had been shot at and stabbed in like a very short time, I still didn't think about the danger of being killed on a daily basis. It just never occurred to me.
And I mean, people worry about like sexual assomeone too, right?
I do.
It's much, much more likely that that's going to happen to you from a family member, or someone is going to do that to you, rather than someone on the street's going to grab you and assault you.
There is far fewer random senseless crime than people,
but that's always very sensationalized when it does happen, because it's like, oh my god, can you believe that just happened to someone walking down the street?
Well, it's the idea of like driving around in LA and some gang members just like trap your car into a blind alley and just like gun everyone down in the car. And that happened once maybe to some poor tourist who took a wrong turn or something. But for the most part, if a gang member kills you, you were probably another gang member, and you probably deserved it. All right. So while you've been on the eastern seaboard, I've been holding down the fort here in Bellingham.
Yeah.
Haven't gone out much. Haven't done much at all, really. Just taking it easy. But I did go to the bagelry and luckily had an encounter with a weirdo, so I can talk about it here on the show. This sort of goes back to this general thing with me where it seems like people are often completely comfortable with telling me what they think of me, even if they're complete strangers, or just offering opinions on me or my appearance, or...
It is odd.
It's very odd. And we've talked about this before. People just talk to me out of the blue. I don't know why. I've never seen them before. And at the bagelry, I was sitting at the counter, having my bagel, drinking my coffee, the whole business like I usually do. And there's this old woman sitting next to me about a seat over on the counter. She was reading a newspaper and again was kind of like glaring at me. Just the fact that I sat down at the counter near her, and I could tell that she was annoyed, like she was being disturbed by my presence, but whatever, I was just eating. And then at one point, she had little square reading glasses and looked down her nose and folded her paper down and was like,
could you stop that, please?
I didn't know what she was referring to, so I kind of turned to look at her, and she was like, you're shaking the entire restaurant. I went, shaking the entire restaurant. And then I realized that I had been jiggling my knee on my stool, and it was not shaking anything. I will say this right now. I'm sitting on a stool. The counter is not connected to the seat. It's one thing if you're like sitting in a booth or something and you shake, maybe it can shake the whole booth.
Rattle the booth a little bit.
It wasn't shaking anything. I think she could just see my knee moving up and down, and it irritated her.
Yeah.
So I went, I'm sorry, and I stopped shaking my knee. And then she went back to reading her newspaper for a minute, and then I guess I took my coffee cup and jiggled it to see how much coffee was left in it, and she went and sighed very loudly and long. So I turned to look at her again, and she said, it's amazing how standards have lowered so much these days. Okay, here we go. Apropos of nothing. What do you mean? What standards? Well, look at how you're dressed. Okay, how am I dressed? It's like, you're wearing jeans. You've got some sort of athletic gear on. I was wearing an Adidas track jacket.
Yeah.
Like, looks like you haven't shaved in a while. You're wearing a hat indoors. Like, hat indoors? This is not 1942.
She's been watching Downton Abbey, apparently.
Apparently. And she was wearing also a pair of jeans, but like those mom pants that go way up to the natural waist. She was wearing...
You can't wear jeans and then criticize someone for wearing jeans.
She was wearing a Christmas cardigan way after Christmas, I might add. And then one of those weird round brimless African hats, like the kufi. A kufi?
Yeah.
Like that Marion Barry or whatever would run around and like, look, I'm down for the struggle. But she was not black. She was an old white woman.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It would make more sense if she was very formally dressed for her to... But you're at the bagelry, too.
I'm at the bagelry.
It wasn't like you were at a formal restaurant.
Well, and I look around, and there's other people wearing shorts, you know?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's the bagelry.
Yeah, you don't put on a suit to go get a bagel, basically.
No.
I think this touches on a more general trend in our society where people think that their opinion is important, and it isn't at all. I don't know about this woman because she's old and crazy, obviously, but just in general, I think maybe the internet and the idea that everyone has access and everyone can express their concerns about everything and criticize everything. It gives them this weird false sense of importance where they feel like their idiotic opinion actually matters in the greater scheme of things. Where in a society where you have access to celebrities, where people are on Twitter, you know, we had the story about Chris Brown and that woman baiting him on Twitter and him freaking out. Like you might have a celebrity respond to your inane tweet.
Which would never happen in the past.
No. And so then that is like, ooh, look what I just did. I'm part of the story now. And so now everyone's just spouting off their bullshit to everyone. Like, I don't give a shit what this old woman wearing her kufi in the bakery thinks of how I'm dressed. But she felt that her opinion was important and that it needed to be expressed. Have you noticed this as well? Like, I mean, we're old enough now that we can remember a time before the pervasiveness of the internet and social media and all this bullshit. Do you feel yourself that people have gotten much more forthright about their inane, stupid opinions?
I think it's probably true. I think that in the political realm, particularly, too, people are absolutely sure of their, like, viewpoint.
Yeah.
And they think people that are in any way different from them are complete idiots.
Yeah.
And I think that's reinforced from the fact that there's more of, like, proliferation of like different media outlets, right?
Right.
So you can always go to like...
You can find your website. You can
and I'm sure she
your...
can go to like the fashion blog about like people wear mom jeans and like kufis and be like, we are right. This is the way you're supposed to be. And like denigrating every other man who's not wearing like white tie or something.
Yeah.
I really don't understand her point. It's so insane. But so that sort of like just reinforces people. I feel too that in our country that we've got a lot more stratified as far as like you only hang out with people who are like you in a sense ideologically, just in the sense that the nation has gone that way more.
Yeah.
I feel like when we were kids, things were a little bit more mixed up. I mean, people talk to people they disagree with a little bit more. People were around people that disagree with each other more. Like the area where we live now wasn't so extremely left-wing. It may have been more of a mixed bag.
Well, I think people were much more accepting of the fact that there are opposing viewpoints, and you don't automatically label somebody a racist, bigot, homophobe, horrible person because they don't agree with you politically. Now there's just this weird thing where if you don't line up politically with the way somebody thinks, then you are evil. you are not a good person. It's this very strange.
Well, it went that way, especially with like during the Bush administration, he was Hitler.
Yeah.
And during the Obama administration, he's like Stalin.
Yeah.
And you get that rhetoric a lot. Whereas I feel like years ago, that kind of rhetoric would have been really extreme. People would have been like, all right, calm down here. You know, Jimmy Carter is not Stalin. Ronald Reagan is not Hitler.
Well, Jimmy Carter is an idiot, but yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we just ramped it up so much, and your own viewpoints are so like amplified back at you. It's this echo chamber of like agreement. And then there's like, you have this perception that there's this consensus around what's right. And the other people that you never interact with must be completely wrong and there's no validity to what they think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm a pretty opinionated person, but even I don't put that much stock in my own opinion. Like, I know that the way I think is valid for me, but I don't expect anyone to agree with me. In fact, I expect most people to disagree with me for the most part, and usually they do. And that's fine. And I just don't... This whole situation, actually, to bring it back from the broad point we were making to the very specific fashion-centered area, this reminded me once when I was in LA. It was the first time I ever went to one of those velvet rope clubs on Melrose Avenue, and I had gone in with these people, like some girls who were well dressed, so that's why we got into the club. And that was in my mod phase when I was wearing a suit and tight pants and everything. And this douchebag came up to me in the bar and was like, "Look what you're wearing." He was making fun of my pants, making fun of my like skinny tie and everything. I look at the guy like, "You were wearing a leather vest with no shirt on underneath, yarn pants." They were like pants crocheted out of yarn, and a fucking beret.
Yeah.
And he felt justified in making fun of my attire. There was like no basis, no grasp on reality whatsoever on his part.
No.
He cannot turn the mirror upon himself.
Because he was very much dressed like a weirdo.
Yeah.
And everyone that sees that guy is like, "Oh, that's a weirdo."
Yeah. And not just a weirdo, like a sleazy douchebag.
And people, but it's not like lots of people are just walking up to him being like, "Look at you, you're disgusting." Most of the people are just like, "Oh, what? That guy's
maybe
just weirdo."
People had been approaching him and saying, "Look at
and
you."
He was
like
going after you.
Piece of shit. And so he felt like he looked around the bar. His eyes lit on me for some reason. Maybe because I was more affronting to him because I was diametrically opposed to the way he was dressed or something. And so to build up his own crushed self-esteem, he had to bring me down a little bit.
But you've talked in the past about you would like to see people more formally dressed as a society, right?
I would, but I still wouldn't go up to... If that woman had said nothing to me, I would not have told her that she shouldn't be wearing her Christmas sweater, her kufi hat, and her mom jeans.
But I still think that it is different than like if you guys were at a very fancy restaurant and she was dressed very well and you showed up in like sweatpants and like a tank top. She said something. It still would have been weird for her to say something, but there's some context there at that point.
Exactly, and I'm the last person who would do that. If I were going to a fancy restaurant, I would be dressed up. That's just so weird because I'm one of the least casual people I know in terms of my attire. It's just weird. I don't mind people having opinions. Just don't tell me what it is. I don't give a shit.
But I think this thing about people approaching you has to do with the fact that you just listen to what they say.
Yes, but Did
you go back at this woman?
I told her she was wearing jeans as well. And her response to that was that, well, I'm a woman. And that she was older as well. And apparently, since I'm a man and a young man, I'm supposed to be dressed in a more professional way.
If this situation would happen to me, I'm usually a pretty laid-back guy, but I do have this impulse. If someone like just attacks me
you'll slam
in that
people
way,
down.
I would have destroyed her. I would have fucking made her cry.
Well, there's part of me,
and that's the thing. You don't do that.
There's part of me that's amused by the whole exchange, and so I want to kind of see where it's going to go, but. At the same time, that gets me into trouble because I've had people just tell me things that I do not want to know because I don't act as though I'm judging them in any way.
Yeah.
I won't get into any specific examples.
Please don't.
No. But yeah, there's been some things that I'm just like, oh my God. But my reaction is just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like a priest.
Yeah. I'm like a priest.
Imagine that burden those priests have to take on.
Oh, God.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Sitting at home, bored, alone. You have Netflix streaming, but you don't know what to watch. Well, now you do with Netflix Picks on the Warren and Bradley Show.
All right, another week of Netflix picks, a very popular new feature on the Warren and Bradley Show. This week, I have 2 more foreign thrillers for people to watch. Ooh. Before we get to that, though, I want to confess an error, something I feel very badly about. On the last Netflix picks, I mentioned Old Boy on Netflix, and I think I thought that it was available in both subtitled and in dubbed form on Netflix. I've since come to discover it was only available dubbed on Netflix, and I would never recommend watching a movie dubbed ever. It's the worst thing in the world. And I watched part of Old Boy on Netflix, and it was like, oh my God, run, get out of there. It's like, oh my God, it's horrible. Never, ever watch a foreign movie dub. So don't watch Old Boy on Netflix. Go download it illegally on a torrent or something and watch it that way.
Or go to your local DVD store or rental place and rent it, maybe.
Do those still exist?
There are a couple.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you could do that. Okay, our first movie is a Norwegian film called Headhunters.
Oh, my.
I'll read you the description on Netflix here. Living way beyond his means, corporate recruiter Roger Brown steals rare artwork to maintain his lavish lifestyle. But when he plans to boost an especially valuable painting, he targets a man who has headhunting skills of a different variety.
Oh, goodness.
This is a 2011 Norwegian film directed by Morten Tildum. It is based on Jo Nesbø's novel Halden Jangme. I think that's how you pronounce that. Very popular in Norway. It's, of course, getting a Hollywood remake. British journalist and screenwriter Sasha Gervasi is writing the screenplay for the Hollywood version. As I always say in instances like these, watch the original first. It's another one of those movies that it's just a really well-done thriller, and if it were made in Hollywood, it would be fucked up in some way. This is just kind of intricate plot. Some of it is a little bit hard to swallow, perhaps, but it's just a fun ride the entire time. It's also co-starring Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who some of you may know from the Game of Thrones HBO series.
I wouldn't know him.
You wouldn't know him from that. He plays Jaime Lannister on Game of Thrones. Good action. It's not over-the-top CGI kind of stuff. It's kind of like an old-school chase thriller. It's very entertaining. I recommend it highly. The next Netflix picks is a French film from 2010 called Point Blank.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this one. You recommend this one to me.
Did you like it when you watched it?
I liked it. It was very entertaining.
It was very entertaining. We'll read the Netflix plot summary again here. Samuel Perret is a nurse who saves the wrong guy. A thief whose henchman takes Samuel's pregnant wife hostage to force him to spring their boss from the hospital. Can he evade the cops and the criminal underground and deliver his beloved to safety? This French action drama, directed by Fred Cavaillé and starring Gilles Lelouch, Roche Dizem, Gerard Lanvin, and Elena Agna.
Oh, yeah.
Again, kind of nonsensical plot, very melodramatic. This hardworking nurse with his insanely precious pregnant wife who is kidnapped. Strange plot machinations that don't really make much sense.
In these movies, who cares why you get in these situations?
And I think I cut it a little more slack because it is a foreign film for some reason. But there's the dirty cops. There's just this crazy
the cops
conspiracy.
Are very dirty.
Oh, they're hilarious, like sleazy French dirty cops. So it's even more amusing. But it's, again, just a great kind of chase movie, high tension, high drama, great action. It's a thriller film that maybe Hollywood would have made in like the 70s or early 80s, but now I can't think of a Hollywood thriller that's been just kind of pulse-pounding good action lately. It seems like they're all just slightly fucked up.
Those Bourne movies, maybe.
The Bourne movies are pretty good. I'm trying to think of anything else.
No, not off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else where they're doing that.
This is just like a good old-fashioned thriller, and it's made the way Hollywood used to, but now I guess the French and Norwegians make them this way now, or the Koreans.
It's strange that the genre's not being made a lot in America, right?
Well, we remake these movies, because this is also going to be remade.
Because it's, I don't really like movies very much. I've seen lots of movies. Most movies I get pretty bored by, but if you throw some crazy action there and make something exciting like this, this is the kind of movie I would go to the theater and be like, oh yeah, I'll go watch that.
Yeah, great set pieces. It's never boring. And even if the plot doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, it doesn't matter because you're just watching what's going on screen. Yeah. I should point out that listener Jed wrote in last week.
He's watched lots of movies, listener Jed.
Yes, he has. And I mentioned that Old Boy was being remade by a Hollywood studio, and I guess Spike Lee is going to be director of the Hollywood remake of Old Boy. So
really?
We can all look forward to that.
That seems odd, doesn't it?
He hasn't made a good movie since, God, what? Summer of Sam? Was that even very good? That was all right.
Inside Man? That was pretty entertaining.
I never saw that. I'm going to talk about irrelevant.
I'll throw a Netflix pick in there, too.
All right, what do you got, Warren?
I watched In the Loop.
In the Loop?
Yes, which was a British satire from, I think, 2009 of the British and the Americans getting involved in the Iraq War. And it was pretty amusing. There were a lot of quips, some dry British humor. James Gandolfini's in there.
I can see this.
Yeah, it was very entertaining.
When the U.S. President and the U.K. Prime Minister decide to invade a certain Middle Eastern country, skeptical American and British operatives do their best to stop the runaway train to war.
One of our childhood favorites, Sledgehammer, is in there. He works for the State Department. He's one of the people there. One of the Americans is pushing the march towards war. Yeah.
Right. So 3 foreign films for our listeners this week. We have Headhunters, Point Blank, and In the Loop. This has been Netflix Picks on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Thank you.
This has been Netflix Picks on the Warren and Bradley Show. Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Yes, it is Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. Starting right off, Warren, you say you have a story?
Oh, I've got a story. A story that's going to blow your doors off, listeners.
Well, don't build it up too much.
I saw Stephen Baldwin when I was in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Did he do anything zany, crazy? Well, is Stephen the hardcore Christian one now? Okay, yeah.
I actually went back and read his Wikipedia page after I saw him to confirm that he was that one.
Looks like a Baldwin.
I was like, which Baldwin is that?
Yeah,
I went back and I figured it out. It is Stephen Baldwin, the one that became a crazy Christian.
Was he in the Young Writers?
Yes, I want to say it was him.
Okay, so he's
I keep thinking there's like a fourth Baldwin. Is there a fourth Baldwin?
I don't know, maybe.
Because there's Billy, Stephen, and Alec. And I feel like there's another one.
Hiram? I don't know.
So I'm walking down the street.
Yeah.
Some guy's agitatedly talking on a phone. So I look over at him. It's Stephen Baldwin. Having this really animating conversation. And then so I go, what? And I look at him and I like lock eyes with him, of course, because I recognize him. And then he kind of like stares back at me aggressively.
No, it's Warren from the Warren and Bradley Show.
Yeah,
I'm
so
doing something
I
zany on the street.
Instantly broke eye contact and was like, got out of there as quickly as possible.
Come on, you could have been part of the story, Warren.
Well, I wouldn't have noticed him if he hadn't been like talking in an animated fashion.
Did you
on the street.
overhear any of the conversation?
No, I don't know. He's just like waving his arms around.
Maybe he was talking to Alec.
He could have been talking to Alec. He could have been talking to any one of his many celebrity friends.
I know he calls into Glenn Beck a lot, apparently.
Yeah, he's really weird. I think he has a Hannah Montana tattoo.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
You didn't get any pictures? No paparazzi snaps of him?
Would you imagine if I'd stopped there and started taking pictures of him and then he like attacked me?
He'd probably be glad. I doubt many people bother him anymore.
Yeah, I wonder if they do. I mean, if he's walking around, are people like,
Well, obviously, these celebrities acting like douchebags in public, they want people to take pictures of them. That's a reinforcement of their self-esteem. They're like, oh, I'm still relevant. People are bugging me. And
people know who I am, right? Yeah. I should have done that.
Some of the big news this week, there's been talk of the 7th Star Wars film that's going to be in the works.
That apparently nobody wants to direct.
Well, as we all know, George Lucas sold LucasArts to Disney, and so there's been rumors forever about who might be the director of the 7th Star Wars movie. There's been rumors it was like Guillermo del Toro. Zack Snyder's name was bandied about.
Those guys.
Now it has been confirmed, or at least not officially, but pretty much confirmed, that J.J. Abrams will be directing the new Star Wars film. His name was actually mentioned early on, and
I remember that being denied.
Yeah. But I guess there's problems because he's already helming the Star Trek franchise for Paramount.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're not pleased with him jumping onto Disney and doing Star Wars. He was also involved in the Mission Impossible films. He's got a lot of stuff on his plate, but I guess tentatively for a 2015 release, he has been tapped to direct the new Star Wars film. And
I think that's fine. I'm okay with that.
I think he'll do an
okay job.
Seeing his reboot of Star Trek, taking a film
franchise,
that had just become ridiculous and horrible,
well, moribund,
and he breathed some life into it and made it pretty good. So
yeah, him directing it should be a fun movie, right?
I would think so.
That's all we're looking for.
So yeah, I have no problem with that. I'm not a huge Star Wars fanboy or anything, so yeah. If it's entertaining, maybe I'll go check it out.
I'll definitely go. If there's the 7th Star Wars movie comes out, you're not going to go to the theater and see it?
I didn't go... Well, I saw the first prequel in the theater.
I think I saw all in the theater.
I was very disappointed when
it was bad. But I mean, I'll probably go to the theater and watch a 7th one.
Yeah.
Star Wars, man.
I did rewatch the original trilogy recently.
Oh, they're pretty good.
And I was appalled because I hadn't seen them since the special editions. I hadn't seen the special editions with all the bullshit that he put in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Especially in Return of the Jedi. I mean, the whole Han shot first thing, that was irritating and everything. Yeah. But then in Return of the Jedi, when I used to love the song that the weird long-nosed freak sang in Jabba's palace, ripped it out and had this weird like hairy Muppet CGI guy going like jumping around everywhere, and then the long-lipped weird snout thing came out and sang a totally different weird-ass song. It was like this whole musical number with these slave girls jumping around. It was horrible.
It doesn't improve the movie at all. It
made no sense. It was ridiculous. And it was CGI from like 1997, so it looks glaringly bad in the movie. It was just awful.
Which movie is it when Han Solo runs into Jabba the Hutt?
That was the first one. They added that scene with the Jabba the Hutt. Yeah.
Like, looks like a cartoon slug
it's
sliding
ridiculous.
around.
I'm glad that he's hands off now, supposedly. He can't.
I think the last episode of the show, didn't we attack George Lucas?
We did. I'm sure we will again at some point.
Oh, good.
This story isn't really a story. It's just, there's been more information coming out about Whitney Houston. I guess there was a book written by Cissy Houston, Whitney's mother, called Remembering Whitney. And there's just more information coming out about when she finally confronted Whitney and made her go into rehab. Apparently, she went to her home, and there were these weird spray-painted evil eyes all over the walls and ceilings, and weird glaring faces that had been painted on the walls, and pictures of Whitney had been cut out of family portraits. And this is the house that Whitney lived in with Bobby Brown. I just thought it was weird. There was a quote from her in the book.
I stood in shock. It was dirty and messy, but that wasn't it. The things I saw sent a chill through me. Somebody had spray-painted the walls and door with big glaring eyes and strange faces. Evil eyes, staring out like a threat. Who would do such a thing? It seemed crazy.
It's a beautiful elderly black woman voice you just did there.
Was that?
That was powerful.
That was pretty good. Maybe I'll be in The Color Purple next. When it returns to
J.J.
stage.
Abrams remake of The Color Purple.
Mickey Rourke, the latest in a long line of celebrity death hoaxes.
Speaking of junkie gets too, right?
Mickey Rourke's agent has slammed false rumors suggesting the actor has died after the representative was bombarded with condolence calls on Friday. He's the latest celebrity to fall victim to the morbid trend of online hoaxes, which claim that a star has died in a snowboarding accident in Switzerland. Apparently, the story is always the same, that it's a snowboarding accident in Switzerland. Other people who have fallen victim to this, Jim Carrey, Jeff Goldblum, Christian Slater, and Sylvester Stallone. Kind of a weird, eclectic mix of people there.
It is a strange mix.
Looking at a picture of Mickey Rourke here, it looks like he died in a snowboarding accident in Switzerland long ago.
He's lived a long life.
My God. Yeah, but apparently he's alive and well, and we're all thankful
he's
for
alive.
that. Well, yeah. Finally, Liberty Ross files for divorce from Rupert Sanders. This is from Us Magazine. You'll remember in the infamous affair that Kristen Stewart instigated with Rupert Sanders, Liberty Ross was the estranged wife, and it looked as though they were getting things back together, but now apparently they're getting a divorce. Yeah. This is probably the first home that Kristen Stewart wrecks. Hopefully,
we don't know about some of the other homes.
Hopefully, in a long line of homes that will end up being wrecked at some point.
She's not a bad-looking woman, man.
I was arguing with somebody the other day about whether or not she was attractive.
Really?
Yeah.
From where I'm sitting, she looks attractive.
Oh, are you looking at Liberty Ross or Kristen Stewart?
Oh,
that's Liberty Ross.
Liberty Ross. I'm saying Liberty Ross is attractive.
Yeah, she's attractive. She was a model.
Yeah, we had a confrontation with some people about her being attractive.
About Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, she is.
She's attractive.
Yeah.
Apparently, there are people who would argue with that, but they're idiots.
But then, of course, when you're arguing with somebody about that, you're wondering if it's one of those things where the other person is arguing that they're not attractive just to please the other females around them.
Yeah, and it's also that thing. I once had an argument with someone over whether or not the Beatles was a good band. And come on, they're pretty good. Shut the fuck up. That may not be your genre, even though it isn't really a genre. It's kind of timeless, universal music. But I think it's that kind of thing where, I'm like out on the edge. I'm avant-garde, and the Beatles, I don't like that shit. What are you talking about? It's like, okay, shut up. Yeah. Come on. And Kristen Stewart's attractive. The way I ended the argument was, if Kristen Stewart crawled naked into bed with you, would you kick her out? And he went, aha. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next story. Amanda Bynes has put a subdermal cheek stud into her face.
The girlfriend showed me this story the other day.
Yes. This is not the driving-related story we were hoping for, but I guess it's just another mark on her downward spiral.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. As a supposedly working actress, though she hasn't really acted in anything lately, and she did say recently that she was going to retire, I guess this is just kind of putting the seal on that. That's not a piercing. That requires surgery to get that out. It's a weird implant they shove under the surface of the skin. You can't just like yank it out and let it heal over.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not a good idea.
It's a terrible idea.
She looks like a freak. Here's an interesting story. Kim Kardashian freaks out over Kourtney Kardashian's breast milk.
Of course she would.
Okay, I have never seen Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I have never seen Kourtney and Kim Take Miami, which is apparently the show that they're in right now.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard about how vacuous the Kardashians are, and I believed that they were vacuous. But I saw this clip from their show, Kourtney and Kim Take Miami. Apparently, Kim Kardashian is suffering from psoriasis on her legs, and she's been taking breast milk from Kourtney and putting it on her psoriasis and rubbing it in. In this particular clip, Kourtney decides to squeeze the milk directly from the boob onto Kim's leg. I know this will be old news for everyone else, but I could not believe that this is what passes for entertainment nowadays.
So my breast milk really works. These spots have been like really continuous for like 6 months. They haven't gone away. So the fact that they're white is a good sign. So I just want to keep on trying it. Okay, so let's try some more. Lay down. Lay down here. Okay. You have to lay all the way down. Relax. Are you serious? Yes. I don't want to do... Never mind. Kourtney? No, I'm gonna... Ew, are you really gonna do this? And it's happening. Ew.
Oh.
Ew. You were doing... It's the same thing that you were taking before. Do you think it's any different? Ew. Okay. Milk. That is so disgusting that you can just squeeze that and have it come out. That's what it's all about. I need to rub it in. I'm not comfortable, like, fresh out the boob.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Obviously, that whole thing was staged, I'm sure. But...
Well, it's a reality TV shows. It's a series of staged events.
This is what's popular?
I don't know.
Really? Just hearing their voices makes me want to gouge my ear. Gouge your ears out? That doesn't really work. You gouge your eyes out. You can do that. I guess I could gouge my eyes out and then shove them into my ears.
Yeah.
Fuck them. I hope they all die. All right. There's a couple more stories, but I don't really care anymore. I guess the last one we do, Shia LaBeouf, who also bugs the hell out of me.
Oh, there's a LaBeouf story?
Apparently, he dropped acid for his latest movie role and then sent tapes of his trip to co-star Evan Rachel Wood. We all know in the movie he's making...
Nymphomaniac, right?
Nymphomaniac. He was supposedly really having sex on screen. And now I guess he thought it was necessary to really drop acid to portray somebody who drops acid. I don't think they were filming his acid trip for the film. But...
this is all just like extreme overcompensation for the fact that he's like this like child actor with like not really any talent who's like stumbled into this like multimillionaire career.
Who had no past really other than being a child actor. And so now he's making up for it.
So now he's like, oh wait, I'm a legitimate actor. Look at me. I dropped acid. I'm having sex on screen. I'm an artist. You're like, now you're even Stevens.
In his new film, Necessary Death of Charlie Countryman, Shia LaBeouf plays a character who trips on acid. To make sure his depiction was accurate, LaBeouf dropped acid and filmed himself and then asked co-star Evan Rachel Wood for pointers. I don't know what pointers she's supposed to give him. Is she known as a big acid head or something? Not that I know of.
Well, if you were trying to portray somebody that's taking acid and you took acid and then taped yourself, you could probably just look at the tape. Rather than sending the tape to someone else and ask them to tell you if you were like someone who was on acid, because you were someone that was on acid.
I would imagine the tape would mostly be him going... Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm tripping balls. Whoa. And looking at his fingers as he moves them around.
That's what people on acid do.
Yeah. I don't think I'd need to take acid to act like somebody on acid.
No.
I just act like Shia LaBeouf on a good day, basically. He's one of those people, I'm sure I've said this many times, but one of those people who I really can't understand why he is famous. It just makes me think that the entire industry is just completely capricious and nonsensical. They've just decided Shia LaBeouf is going to be a big star.
Yes.
We've decided he is. Nobody else has decided. His talent hasn't decided this, but we have decided that he's going to be, and we're going to keep putting him in movies. He's been in a couple hits, but they weren't hits because of him.
Well, that's the distinction, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at all the money these Shia LaBeouf movies are pulling in. But it's like, you could plug any dude off the street into these movies.
Yeah.
And they would still make
you
lots
and
of
I
money.
could have been in the last Transformers film, and it would have made
the same amount of money.
Plenty of money.
Yeah, you could have put anyone in there. People are there to see the robots fight.
Yes.
It doesn't really matter who this guy is.
I would definitely pick robots fighting over Shia LaBeouf, but then when they combine the two, I'm not going to see either.
No.
That's just the way I am. All right. That's enough for Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Spare $1 and give me a motherfucking cigarette. I ran out of gas ways back. Got me that. You smoke weed, don't you? Good. I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
Street Freak of the Week. It's been a long time, but I have a pretty good one here for you guys. We've already had several street freaks who have knocked on my door, called my home, texted me. They're infiltrating my life in a big way. This is another one of those. I was sleeping in my bed with my teddy bear.
Yeah.
I had the phone next to me. Whenever I sleep, I put my phone on vibrate, and if I'm asleep, usually I don't notice the vibration. This time, I was just sort of drifting in and out of a pleasant dream, and suddenly my phone starts vibrating. It's about midnight at this point. Pick it up, and I see that it has front door listed on there, because the call box for my front door to get buzzed into the building routes to my cell phone so I can buzz people in. I'm like, okay, it's midnight, not expecting anybody. I'm sure this is just some crazy homeless person randomly dialing numbers and trying to get into the building. So I deny the call, go back to bed. About 5 minutes later, rings again. Pick it up, front door, deny it again. 8 calls, front door. I finally get to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe there is some sort of emergency. Maybe it's my brother lives nearby. Maybe he doesn't have his cell phone. Maybe somebody I know is trying to get me. Why would anyone, if people were randomly dialing numbers
That's
on
the
the
thing,
call
the weird
box,
part about it, right?
Yeah.
So is everyone getting 8 calls?
Exactly. And I doubt that somehow. I don't know. But
it seems unlikely.
It seemed unlikely, so I'm like, okay, I'm finally going to answer this and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Answer the phone. Okay. Hang up.
It was your brother. Sorry.
Hang up the phone. 2 minutes later, rings again. Okay. How long is this going to go on? Can I just keep ignoring this? Or do I need to try to talk to this person, try to talk sense to this crazy person and get them to stop calling me? So I decide to answer again. I'm like, hello? Hello.
Okay, this is you again. No. You're engaging. You're like saying hello, hello.
Well,
you know what's going on.
It's funny because I just watched The Simpsons where Chief Wiggum was with Ralph, and he's like, excuse me while I go try to talk sense to this raving homeless man.
Every time that situation occurs where people try to reason with a crazy homeless person, that's the first thing that comes to mind is Chief Wiggum leaving Ralph in the car and going over and trying to have a reasoned conversation with this man just yelling on the corner.
With his hands above his head. But I wanted him to stop calling me. Okay, so I'm like, hello, what's going on? Hello. Like, can you let me in the building? Like, who are you trying to get a hold of? Reggie.
Oh.
Okay. I am not Reggie. Like, yeah, I've been here for a long time. Reggie was going to let me in. Like, okay. I don't know if there's a Reggie who lives in this building. I am not going to buzz you in. And if you were trying to get Reggie, the call box is listed by name, not apartment number.
Go to Reggie's name.
Do you see what name you've been trying to call this whole time? He's like, Bradley Victor. Like,
but why you?
I am not Reggie. You see that? Bradley Victor. That is not Reggie. So if you can find your friend Reggie on this call box, Call him. He's like, he gave me the apartment number. I'm like, it's not listed by apartment number. It's listed by name. And if there's a Reggie in this building, he will be listed.
Oh, Wiggum. Look at you.
Well, so I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah. I hang up the phone. Rings again. I'm like, okay. Beep off again, over and over as he keeps trying to call me. Finally, he gets angry. And I can hear him. My window's open, so I can hear him out on the street. Get me the fuck in this fucking building! Just screaming at the top of his lungs, just raving. I hear a window open. I couldn't tell if it was above or below me or where in the building it was, but it was obviously facing down the street. Hear a window open. You better shut the fuck up or I'm calling the cops.
That's what should have been done, yeah.
Well, the homeless man stops for a second, looks up at the man who's yelling at him from out of my building and says, "Are you Bradley Victor? I'm gonna fucking kill you! I'm gonna fucking kill you if you don't let me in the fucking building! Bradley Victor!" Starts screaming my name at the top of his lungs and about how he's going to kill me and all the horrible things he's going to do to me.
No.
Just shrieking. And the guy's like, "I'm not Bradley Victor. Shut the fuck up. Get out of here." Finally, the guy is screaming, wanders off. I think a cop car was coming or something was going on. He wanders away. I could see lights down there. I don't know if the cops grabbed him or what the deal was going on. 2 days later, I get a letter in my mailbox from the management of the building. Dear tenant, we have had report that there was somebody who was very violent and loud looking for you outside the building, causing a disturbance. We don't know what kind of situation you were in or what kind of people you were inviting over the building, but please make sure something like this never happens again. So I had to call the people and say, crazy homeless person. They got my name off the call box. I think they believe me. Not totally sure, but now there's a crazy homeless man who wants his friend Reggie, who knows my name and knows where I live. So we can only assume that this will happen again at some point.
But this is the thing. You're neither the first nor the last name on that box. And you have to scroll through.
You do.
So he's scrolling to your name and doing your name
and
over
it doesn't
again.
save it. Like each time it hangs up, you have to scroll all the way through again. I don't know.
It's really amazing at this point.
It's really, really weird.
I'm sure I'll be back.
Yeah, so he was our only contestant for this week's Street Freak of the Week.
Oh, that's a great one.
Okay, so congratulations, raving lunatic, crazy, violent, screaming homeless man who was looking for Reggie. You've been selected as this week's Street Freak of the Week.
Congratulations.
That's pretty good.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
So I read an interesting story the other day. Warren, have you ever had pubic lice?
No.
Do you know anyone who... Well, I don't think a lot of people would admit it, but...
I've never had anyone confess to me they've had pubic lice.
You've never dated anyone who had little critters running around down there?
Have you?
Not that I know of.
Do people around here have pubic lice?
I'm assuming people have pubic lice. I don't think it has anything to do with income or...
Just like having lice, right?
I guess. Because we had kids in school that had lice. I've never had lice.
I've never had lice either.
But I remember you'd get a little announcement and there'd be the poor little kid who'd have to be segregated away from everybody because he had lice.
But is pubic lice like a sexually transmitted
It's from sexual contact. The lice that infect the pubic area are only
lice
on the pubic
the pubic area.
They don't like anywhere else. They won't go anywhere else. But I read a story recently where apparently, this is from the New York Daily News, the trend towards pubic hair deforestation, as they put it in the New York Daily News, is making pubic lice, commonly known as crabs, an endangered species.
Oh, it's crabs.
Yeah, it's the same thing as crabs.
Okay.
Yeah. One sexual health clinic in Sydney, Australia hasn't seen a single woman with pubic lice since 2008. And male cases at the clinic have fallen 80%.
Wow.
Turns out that all that shaving, waxing, and grooming may be destroying the itchy little bugger's natural habitat.
So when they say Brazilian, people in Brazil get Brazilians.
I'm assuming that's where it came from.
Yeah, so it's not just like, that makes sense.
And that's all the way off.
That just means everything gets ripped off, right?
Everything goes, yeah.
Huh.
So, now what's your opinion on pubic hair grooming, Warren?
I'm still just not going to have sex with somebody that has crabs. That's been my way to avoid it.
How do you know if they have crabs or not, Warren?
I don't know. If any of our listeners have had crabs before, dismiss what I'm saying right now, but I feel like...
You're a dirty bastard.
I feel like that if I met someone that had crabs, somehow I would sense it. Maybe it's not true.
Well, you'd know after a while because you'd start itching horribly and have little bumps.
But even
and,
beforehand, I feel like I could just look at him and tell.
I guess, but it's not the kind of thing like you can shower, you can do everything, you could be clean, but they're still going to be grabbing on there. They hang on. You have to get special shampoo and creams and get rid of them that way.
Yeah.
I've never noticed anyone with crabs. I've never been with anyone with crabs, but I also have to say that most women I have been with bear down there.
I wonder is it possible that crabs could go extinct?
That's what I'm hoping. And that's why I think we, as the Warren and Bradley Show, should put out a public service announcement on the show to encourage all of our listeners to shave their pubic hair off.
Or, let me turn this around on you. Because we're worried about the rates of extinction of species around the world.
That's true. I'm sure the Sierra Club or Greenpeace
We've got to keep them around, right?
Or PETA.
We can't lose a very precious species.
I can imagine, there's always the documentaries on the spotted owl or whatever creature is losing its habitat because of deforestation or overhunting or human populations spreading out and pushing them out of their natural habitat. Is there going to be some David Attenborough special on the BBC at some point? And like, these tiny pubic lice have nowhere to live.
Or a commercial on cable where some C-list celebrity like shows all these sad pubic lice and there's very sad music playing and everything. She's like, save these little creatures.
Problem is that they're not necessarily cuddly. We see a picture right there.
No.
They look like horrible little critters.
I did go to the Natural History Museum when I was in New York.
Yes.
Which was amazing. And they had a stuffed Galapagos tortoise there.
No.
And they said, we did this. This happened a long time ago. We didn't do this yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So I was looking at this tortoise and I read about it. And the reason they almost went extinct was because we
ate them.
Yeah. But you know why they were so good for eating?
Well, yeah, because you'd grab them and you put them on their backs in the ship, and they're like a little fridge. They would just stay alive forever.
They don't need water or food for months.
Yeah, because they just eat this horrible scrub, and they get their water from that. Because they live in the Galapagos Islands. Yeah. They're basically desert. And so they were this great mobile larder
I had no idea about this.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, because it's true. If you were like out there cruising around, you're like, look at these things. They're like perfect, right?
They're
Stick
slow,
them in there.
they're stupid.
They're slow, they're stupid. You throw them in there. You don't have to feed them or water them. You don't have to think about them.
Yeah.
And then you go slaughter them a couple months later and you have fresh meat.
Yeah, it makes sense.
No wonder they almost went extinct.
Oh, yeah.
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 They're amazing, though. I'm glad they're still around.
Wish I could try one of those tortoises.
Oh, I'm sure they're delicious.
Seems kind of gross for some reason to me. I don't know why. I'm sure it tastes fine.
I always feel that way about shark.
Yeah, but shark is just fish.
I guess it's just fish, but for some reason I picture cutting into it and it just doesn't seem appetizing to me. But because I've never had it before.
There was one bus trip I took from Los Angeles to Bellingham.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
On the Greyhound, packed in. There was this giant black gay man named Sass sitting next to me the entire time, making horrible comments and freaking me out the entire time. I'm not homophobic, but he was like, I would nod off and wake up, and he would have his shirt off, shaving with a straight razor on the seat next to me, and then look over at me and be like, how'd you sleep there, honey? And I'd be like, oh God. Anyway, but that's another story for another day. But at one point we got stopped in Sacramento and they were doing like some sort of drug check or something. Or I guess it was also the Department of Agriculture to see about fruit or other things that were going in.
Oh yeah, the fruit thing.
And there was a tortoise found on the bus wandering around. And apparently this little Asian dude had been trying to smuggle this tortoise, and he was going to kill it and eat it and make soup out of it. And it was just wandering through the bus, and like the people found it, like, whose tortoise is this? And they were interrogating everybody, trying to find out whose tortoise. Meanwhile, the little Asian dude is like huddled in
we all kind of know who, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can't profile.
No, you can't profile. But you're looking around, you're like, I got a feeling who wanted to smuggle this tortoise on, so because it's great life-giving properties, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's odd that you're like a smuggler. You're like, I'm going to smuggle this tortoise.
Yeah.
But you're such an inept smuggler that the tortoise is actually walking around on the bus.
I know. It's not like Midnight Express where it's strapped to your pants or something like that.
I've never tried to smuggle a tortoise before, but it's like I could do it. You know what I mean? I would put it in a bag or something and it would get there. I wouldn't put it in like a paper bag next to me where it could just like walk out and I could fall asleep. Yeah.
Stay tortoise.
Stay tortoise. I know there's a lot of ramifications if they find this. I'm just going to trust that you're going to stay because I trained you.
I wonder what happened. I don't know if he was fined. He was let off the bus. The tortoise was removed as well. I don't know if it went to a good home or something or a zoo somewhere. It was a weird looking tortoise.
I'm sure there's like some myth about that tortoise making you like.
Yeah, what's it with Asian people eating things penises all the time? It makes me think that they weren't blessed in the genital region if that's all they do is eat like rhinoceros horns and
but it seems
pickled
like
monkey
when
penises.
you hear about a lot of that, like, ancient medicine like that, it's a lot of it's just about like getting your libido going, right?
Yeah, but I don't know
weird stuff you can eat.
Was there like a history in tribal Africa of male fertility rituals in terms of like, but this is about making your penis larger and more virile, apparently. And do you think a lot of like Maasai tribesmen were running around eating lion penises because they were worried about their dicks? I don't think so. I think this is like an Asian thing.
Why are they so worried about it? That is weird, isn't it?
Well, I'm inferring
that they have small penises.
That they have tiny penises.
But if you were one of those tribesmen, or you were living on some weird island, and everyone else would have the same size penis as you wouldn't know about the giant penises of other species.
All it takes is some merchant or something to come onto your island
and expose himself
and flap it around a little bit and be like, I don't know.
This theory holds no water because you're basing this on this idea that they're trying to eat things to maybe get a bigger penis.
Yeah.
But then it revolves around a weird merchant coming on a ship and whipping his penis out and like showing them all and shaming
and all the
men.
women being like, ooh, look what we've been missing. But you just have a whole population of unsatisfied women. And for generation after generation, these women have just been, that's why some of the first dildos ever made were made in China out of ivory.
Where are you going with this, man?
I'm making a broad, sweeping generalization about how Asian people have tiny penises, and that's why they eat ostrich.
And apparently this Asian women hasn't been satisfied sexually for generations because
so they've had to use the
Asian
tusks
men
of elephants and make ivory dildos and pleasure themselves.
I don't know.
We're not going to get any mail on this, I don't think. It'll be fine. How do we get on this? We're talking about pubic lice? The plight of the pubic lice, the endangered species?
Yeah. I don't know how we got to this weird thing about Asian men's junk, but, wherever you want to go with it.
I think one thing leads to another.
This is true, though? Where you're saying that dildos, the original dildos, came from Asia?
They have ivory dildos from Asia. They were like, well, I'm sure Romans had dildos, too. I think every culture had dildos.
If anyone likes to write in, if we have an anthropologist listening, tell us when the first dildo was discovered.
I would like to bring it back to the pubic lice, though, and just say this. We don't all have to shave. Just one sex has to shave their genitals, and then that'll stop the spread of pubic lice. And I volunteer the women. I don't want to shave my genitals.
I don't want to do that either.
Have you ever done that?
No.
Why not?
It's one of those questions
we talked about...
That's not a question like, why haven't you done something weird? And it's like, because it's weird.
We both shaved our legs once. Why did we do that?
I don't know, because I was like, I'll see how this works.
Yeah, exactly.
I was bored.
That's why you shave your balls.
I don't know.
I have shaved them once.
I know, I've heard about this.
Yeah, because you would see, like, if you ever watch porn or something, and there's these dudes with, like, perfectly clean balls. Like, how does this happen? And so I was curious as to how, it's very stretchy and wrinkly. It's like, And so how do you get a razor over that thing? And
that's, in my mind, that's what I think about, right?
Yeah.
If you mention shaving balls, the first thing I think about is someone taking a Mach 3, running it over these balls, and it catching in the balls and cutting them. My mind doesn't go any farther than that, and I just eliminate the idea.
Those triple blades, or is that that's a triple blade.
Oh, it's a triple blade. Yeah. That's what I use on my face. That's the thing. You use what you use down there on your face?
I think you use a different razor.
So you have two razors?
Yeah. You get a ball shaver and a face shaver.
But what percentage of men shave their balls regularly?
I don't know. Probably not very many.
No, very few. Maybe people in the porn industry.
I did it a couple times just because I was curious. And it's fine. It's not hard. You just stretch it out and shave.
Well, there's a lot of things that aren't hard and are probably fine that you don't need to do. That I
have to say, it actually does feel kind of nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Like cool and refreshing?
It is. I guess in the summer, especially. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it in wintertime, though.
You know what? I'm never going to do it.
Well, you should try it sometime.
No, I can't imagine.
Don't say that you don't like something if you've never tried it.
Yeah, you could do that. You're allowed to do that.
Okay.
It's not like the pleasure of a shaved scrotum is so great that I'm risking something by not experiencing it. That's not that great.
Yeah, it was fun.
We'll see.
And I'm doing my part to stop the spread of pubic lice.
Oh, you're a hero.
All right. I think that's all the time we have for this brand new edition of the Warren and Bradley Show. This has been one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
This is the other host, Warren Van.
Saying...
shave your balls if you want to.
Yeah, it's fun.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.